So this is kind of a list of the virtual trainers that they have embedded in their programs, and you'll see they overlap with so many different programs, whether it's HVAC, aerospace, STEM, engineering, pre-engineering, business. You might ask, what has business got to do with this? Well, there's quality measurements, so that side of it. There's lean manufacturing. There's ISO. They're not part of the virtual trainers, but they're part of the library that, again, overlaps with so many programs. And then here's a few screenshots of some of the virtual trainers in action. So this is a basic electrical trainer where they've hooked up a simple series circuit, and they're taking a voltage measurement. Now, when your students do this, if you're requiring them to do the skill and prove to you they did, they can take a screenshot of this, send it to you in an email, paste it to a Word document, and send that as well with any other assignment you might give them, and it allows them to submit something to you that you can continue to grade their work as they progress through the program. This is an example of a generic PLC trainer. Amatrol works with both Siemens and Allen Bradley for concentrated training on specific manufacturers. But in the simulator, they allow the students to go through a very generic ladder logic with the base symbols that are going to overlap to either side. And this screenshot kind of shows you how realistic this trainer is. They have 8 scenarios in the PLC simulation where students will actually watch a ladder logic code run, and then they'll actually develop their own to make the system operate. And the beauty of it is they can do this 24/7. Back when I started teaching in 2014, the only simulation you could do was in the classroom, ran off a CD or downloaded to the school server. You didn't have the opportunity to run it from anywhere at any time. And this is a great addition when you want your students and they realize, hey, I'm going to be up all night. I'm going to go through some of my courses, and then the instructor can see that I did it the next day. And the last one we're going to show is the CNC simulator, and at the detail that it comes at. I mean, this looks just like you're walking up to a CNC machine. You can see the setup, you can see the G code, and you can see the operator panel. And it walks them through step by step on what they're going to do. It emphasizes safety, and that's something that a lot of your curriculum providers kind of leave in the background. They don't realize the importance of it. But Amatrol, that's one of the first things that they want to stress as they go through their courses, especially where safety is required. So now we're going to go to the Amatrol library, and we'll go in and navigate some courses, and then we'll look at their LMS. So this is going to be a login as an administrator or teacher. This is a screenshot of what the Amatrol main library would look like. So you would have any of the courses that are in Amatrol main library between Industry 4.0 down to Workplace Effectiveness. Amatrol's library is set up in 2 different ways. They have what's called modules, and within the modules are segments. And then they have what's called courses, and these are smaller courses. They're subcomponents of those modules and segments you saw. You're able to customize the courses. If you want to create custom courses, you could create some basic hydraulics tied in with electrical, tied in with mechanical drives, and that would be great for an automotive program or an aerospace program, multiple programs. And then when I was talking about workplace effectiveness, enterprise systems, advanced manufacturing, right down here you'll see ISO 9000, TS 16949, just various courses that all programs could benefit from. So the first actual course we're going to go into is found in the basic measurements. This is a subcategory of measurement tools. And I choose tape measure because, again, traveling with schools and going and talking to their advisory committees and the companies that they're trying to build a workforce for, one of the other things they say is that, man, I get students that don't even know how to read a tape measure. So I love the fact that Amatrol starts with the most basics and works them way all the way up to micrometers and calipers if there's a need for that. If not, you can just select as far as you wanted to go, Say you wanted them to get to micrometers and stop there and skip the dimensional gauging, you could build a custom course for that. So I'm going to launch this content. I didn't enable my pop-up blocker. I apologize. Can you imagine what that sounds like when you've got 25 students sitting at their computers first thing in the morning with their volumes cranked up just to give you a hard time? That's kind of what I dealt with, but it was funny. Amatrol narrates their multimedia. So if you have a student that might have a little difficulty in reading or just concentrating, they can always listen to the narration. So I'm going to play a couple slides of that.
Describe how to use a tape measure to measure a length. To measure the length of a dimension using a tape measure, first, the end of a tape measure is hooked to one end, or the reference point of the dimension you want to measure.
Before I go on, I want to show you other things that are embedded in the multimedia. So as you see a word that's in a different color or font, that's because Amatrol is giving the student the opportunity to dig in and see what dimension means. So they do that all throughout all their courses. And it would be a great time for your students to take notes if you wanted to throw an extra quiz on them, or tell them this will probably help you at the end when you take the final quiz. Now I'm going to mute the system, which will allow us to go through at a little faster pace and go forward. And again, you see the different words that are defined. And it's explaining the scales of tape measure. Now we're going to go to the skill. So it tells them what they're going to do in this procedure. And then in a classroom environment, the students have the opportunity to use the simulator, then or the trainer. I required my students to always do the simulator first to prove to me they had the concept of what they were doing before I'd ever let them in the lab. And knowing that we're now trying to develop a remote learning package for you, these simulators are going to be one of the best opportunities to at least develop those pre-skills before you can get them back and validate true hands-on. So we're going to select simulator.
This tutorial
will pop up.
Familiarize you with the tape measure of the Virtual Measurement Systems Trainer.
I apologize. So anyway, that tutorial will pop up every time, and the students will, once they get it, they'll just close it up, and then they'll go right into the lesson. And then they'll follow the lesson or the skill step by step, which is something that is really neat. It's not just giving them a task and figure it out. It walks them through that. So it kind of, whether you want to call it holds their hand or gives them the confidence that they can perform the skills. If they'll follow it step by step, they're going to be successful in the skill. I had a lot of students that, of course, wanted to go to the last step and try to make it match the picture, but they didn't follow the steps and found out that they needed to. So this is telling us that we're going to measure the length using a 1/16 scale of a tape measure. So we're going to select fraction inch tape to the workspace. This is our workspace. So here's our tape measure. And we're going to select the shaft number 1. And then we're going to familiarize ourselves with tape measure operation. So there's a graphic there that shows us how to click it off and on and be able to pull the tape out to measure something. So we'll go through that. Retract it. Now they want us to move it over the shaft. Pull it out. And let's see what we got. So we're going to zoom in right at 10/16. And basically, we've completed the skill, and sometimes they'll have them record it, which there'll be a form they can print, or sometimes they're just going through it where they learn how to operate it. But again, I think these are great skills for especially entry-level employees. I'm going to enable my pop-ups this time. The next simulator we're going to go to will be the PLC simulator. And we're looking for the virtual. So you can see, and I didn't explain this earlier, my apologies. Amatrol courses are designated with either a W, a V, or an E. A W means it's multimedia content. A V means it has a virtual trainer associated with it, and an E means it's an electronic book. Amatrol will be converting all of their content over to multimedia, but this is how you differentiate between the two. Now, the wrench represents there's actual work tied in with that course. So if you look at these two courses, they're the exact same course for PLCs, but the one with the wrench has the skills tied to it, where the one without is just a theory-based lesson. So we're going to go into the simulator. I'm going to select a skill, mute it, and here's where you would choose between hardware or simulation. So you can see they've got the step-by-step instructions on the side. This is the ladder logic that's already preset for a demonstration, and this is the trainer. You can see where you can actually walk all the way around the trainer, zoom in on it, see the components. Here's some limit switches. We'll go right to the operator control panel. They can interact so they can see where it's tied to the PLC. And then we're going to run a program. You can see the ladder logic as it's going through the rungs. Now the press is going down and started a timer, so it's going to hold that press in place for 10 seconds. Hits 10, releases it, calls for the next part. This gives you the ability to select multiple scenes. There's one of a tank. I'm not going to go through them all, but you get the idea. Conveyor, and this is where they would have to write their own code. And this last one we're going to go to would be the CNC Simulator. You notice how this is loading differently. This is Amatrol shifting over from Flash to WebGL. Everyone knows that Flash is going away. WebGL is what Amatrol has been diligently using to convert all their content over, and they've got some amazing graphics associated with it. That's why they chose it. It downloads immediately, so it might take just a second longer when you load the program, but you can have all the content ready to run.
Online skill. Load.
So again, we're going to select the simulator. It's loading up. Takes just a second. Again, this is just like the other simulators. You can walk around it, you can get inside it, zoom in, zoom out. It's got the instructions here to the left. We're going to hide those. We're going to pull up the setup screen. Sorry. Look at our setup. I'm not going to pretend to be a CNC guy. I'm just enough to be dangerous with the demo. And then you can actually see the code. Now we're going to start the system. Change the tools. Now starting the machine apart. There's some really great graphics. And your students have the ability to change this code, change the numerical values, and change what the part looks like, what it's going to do. You can put in errors and have them troubleshoot it. So that's the CNC simulator. I apologize. Clicked too far. Now we're going to go into just kind of the LMS side of it. As you see over here on the left, you've got the administration. This is where you get your reporting, you manage users. You could build your custom courses, and you can also set up for your own site. So if you wanted site customization to be Community College of Denver, you could change that and put your logo there. You can create welcome screen messages, custom order, manage your tags. Tags would be how you would associate different classes using the same library, and so forth. Reporting, that's where your teachers would go to look at students' activities. So we're going to select a student out of here and see what they've been doing. So right here you can see they went through basic electrical circuits. They did a pre-quiz. They went through the course, we would assume, and took the quiz. And then they did some skills, and the instructor went in and graded their skills on a scale of 0 to 4. For the pre-quiz, you always have the ability to go and look at how successful they were, how long it took them to take the quiz, and the same for the quiz. You can see what answer they got wrong. If you want to help them out, you can reset the quiz, or you do that right here. And as far as a pre-quiz, if you don't want a pre-quiz, you can have that turned off. And if you want to change the passing score, which I believe is an 80%, you would talk to Amatrol and they would change that for you as well. And I believe that covers a good portion of the LMS. It's SCORM compliant, meaning you can actually create SCORM packages of the different courses if you're using Moodle or Blackboard, and then you can drag and drop those right into your own LMS. And then typically it's going to grab the scores from the activities and put that right in your grade card. We would be more than willing to set up webinars to show you how to do that. I had to do it myself in Oklahoma, so it's not that hard to do, basically.